Warning. Warning. You are about to enter the propaganda report with Brad Binkley. Warning. Warning. You are about to enter the propaganda report with Brad Binkley. Warning.
That's right. You have entered the propaganda report with Brad Binkley. It's a little bit after midnight on January 28th, 2026. A late night show tonight as I am testing some new multi-cam equipment as I'm preparing to have some in-studio guests for the first time, and I need to know how to do it. So doing a couple test runs. Let's hope it goes well. One of the things that I might go to test the multi-cam setup is I have with me today on the second cam is I have Edmund Dog. Can you see? Let me see if he's on the screen there. There he is, sleeping. Be cutting to the Edmund Dog cam occasionally, at least until the battery runs out. Maybe I'll toss, maybe see if I can hit him with a treat. There he goes. There he goes. There he goes. He found the treat. I'll toss a treat every now and then. We can do a little double cam there. Looks like it's working okay so far. We will see how it goes moving forward. If you guys are in the chats, let me know how the audio sounds. I think I can check the levels there. Let's just dive into it. I'll listen to it later, and then I will see how it sounded afterwards. Okay. Davos wants to trick you into trusting them. Davos was last week, as many of you guys are aware, the World Economic Forum, that is, their annual meeting that they have in Davos, Switzerland, which is this is how they describe it. The invitation-only gathering that brings together 3,000 global leaders from government, businesses, academia, and civil society from around the world to discuss humanity's most pressing issues as determined by them, of course. They decide what the most pressing issues are. And they decide what they're going to try and do about them. They call themselves global shapers. That's quite a thing. Let me turn this your audio down. It's a little loud there in my ear. Quite a thing to call yourself a global shaper. Quite an attitude to have for yourself as a global shaper, too. And there's a theme at these meetings, which, by the way, they decide on these policies that are implemented through corporations and governments from around the world without any vote from the people of the world. Without an invite. This is invite only. We're not allowed to go to these things. These are decisions made in the castle in the sky that they attempt to implement onto civilization. A lot of COVID stuff was thought up and organized there. And one of the themes this year, which is the same theme that they have carried throughout since 2021 for 5 years in a row now, is the distrust that the elites have from the people in the world. This is something that they identified, the lack of trust that the elites have, that the public has stopped believing them. The controlling institutions of society, the media, the government, that was the fifth rail. I don't know what people call that whole conglomeration, but all of those people in those institutional positions that are able to control the people's perception of reality, which is very important if you're a global shaper attempting to implement global policies on people. You need them to have trust in your sources of information for them to do the things that will make your plans come to fruition. And so they noticed that they had lost the most vital aspect of making those plans happen, trust. And they identified this problem in November of 2021. That was when the Davos meeting was held that year. It was held virtually through Zoom because it was quite a time, as you guys probably recall. Let me play you that clip, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. Hopefully all the... Is that a camera or still photo? Oh, of me or Edmund? No, that's Edmund. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the. Yeah, his mic. He's a talker. He's a howler sometimes, but he's sleeping right now. He's a good dog. Okay, so check this clip out. I played this clip on the show multiple times. I did the setup in this clip, so I'm going to play this for you guys and then go back to the theme of the show. Let's see here. Why is that? All right. Okay. Sorry.
Here's Nari Woods, who is the person who created the Global Economic Governance Program at the University of Oxford, admitting what we already knew.
The Edelman survey showed us that the good news is the elite across the world trust each other more and more. So we can come together and design and do beautiful things together. The bad news is that in every single country they were polling, the majority of people trusted that elite less. So we can lead, but if people aren't following, we're not going to get to where we want to go.
And that's very true. And it's quite a recognition from them. Because it's not like people were just trusting the elites all of the time before 2021. People have always been skeptical of those in power. They just haven't trusted the alternative sources enough to not really get their information and submit to the power of those institutions to kind of shape worldview. But something broke around 2021. As you might recall, the context around this clip is very, very important for their trust finally completely eroding. As I said, it was November of 2021. And at that point in time, we were 18 months or so into the pandemic and the lockdowns and all the chaos. And the subject of a lot of this Davos and public conversation among the authorities, the Dr. Fauci's, if you will, was how do you get the public just to shut up and take the vaccine? How do you get them to just put the mask on and stay 6 feet away and don't go visit their grandmothers in the nursing homes? How do you get them to just comply with what the elites are trying to do? And that effort caused a lot. It broke people's trust completely to the point of where they finally severed their connection with all these mainstream sources of information, and they went and sought out new sources of information in the alternative media, the conspiratorial media, the podcast sphere, the Instagram, the TikToks, anything but those mainstream sources. People sought voices that didn't make them feel bad about themselves, didn't lecture them, that they could relate to, that seemed authentic to them, that they could identify with. Everything that the media and the government spokespeople were not, they went and found on the web through these alternative sources. And that is where people started getting their information from their most trusted. I don't even like saying the word influencer. That's how they describe it. That's what they're trying to do. And this is crippling to this global shaping effort. And to achieve all those goals, as she said, they have to have their trust. And from that point on, 2021, I haven't gone through all the panels this year yet. I just noticed that it was a theme again, which makes 5 straight years that a primary theme has been rebuilding that trust and all the ways they can do that. And let me just show you, just to emphasize that this is top priority for them. They can't do what they want if they don't wrestle away people's minds and people's hearts and win back their trust from those who are the more authentic sources. And look at all, and this is just a fraction of them. So this is in no particular order here. You guys see that? Okay. So I'm just going to type in trust and do a search. I can't remember what year this is. Let me see. I want to see what year this is real quick. Because I pulled up, this is from 2024. That's when the whole thing was themed. Talking about one of the speakers there, Botsman explained the 3 clear chapters of democracy and trust and how technology is distributing trust. She goes on to say institutions around us shape us and allow us to connect to people around us, said Bremer. This is a speaker from the 2024 Davos. But those institutions have fragmented and lost trust. Trust has enabled globalization over the past decades, and in order to ensure we drive growth while managing green transition, countries must continue to take coordinated measures to communicate, to keep competition healthy. It must be cooperation. Quote, this is not a time for conflicts or polarization. This is a time to build trust. Building trust in AI. That's 1 year. Let's look at another one. I think I got too many from 2024 here. This one's also 2024. The meeting was held under the theme of rebuilding trust and featured over 4. So the whole theme was rebuilding trust in 2024. Rebuild trust among array of challenges from the climate crisis, blah, blah, blah. They talk about the the divide. Rebuilding trust will not happen overnight, but it's essential and possible. I'm not going to get into the weeds of all of it. I'm just illustrating. The 54th annual, this is 2024, meeting of the World Economic Forum will provide a critical space to focus on the fundamental principles of driving trust, including transparency, consistency, and accountability. What year is this one? This is Davos 2021. And this is just one day of panel discussions. I used to go through all of these. One of them is building trustworthy and connected future. That's a difficult challenge there. Let's pick another day here. Trust. Oh, no. Oh, wait, no, yeah. It's the same thing. All right. This one's 2021 also. It's called about resetting the business of data and AI in healthcare. And that's something where they lost a lot of trust through the pandemic. And they're talking about they have a trusted digital agency that they want to bring in. And here's another one from what year is this? I think this is also 2024 here. Town Hall, how to trust technology, how to trust governance, building trust through transparency, how to trust economics, rebuilding trust in science. They lost a lot of that trust in science, for sure. I don't know if I shared that screen with you guys. Sorry. I realized I did not have what I was trying to show you on screen. Yeah, so here's all the rebuilding. And here's another one from 2023. Disrupting distrust. Disrupting distrust. Trust is at the heart of multi-stakeholder cooperation for making progress on our current crises. You get the point. I could go through those all day. Meether says that winning trust is just the devil's way of saying bamboozle the stupid masses again. I mean, that's what they're trying to do at Davos. And I'm going to go through. Is there an echo on my mic? There might be. Do you guys hear an echo? I appreciate the feedback because I'm trying to work this out. Maybe I need to. Oh, I bet. Okay, so the echo was probably when I had that shared, wasn't it? Is there still an echo? Yeah, okay, thank you. I figured out what the problem was. I appreciate that. Sucks I had an echo for all that part, though. Nevertheless. Okay. All right, I know how to... Let me fix that echo real quick. Where's the audio source? I got a Rodecaster video, if you guys have heard of that. The newer one. And it's a little bit different from what I used to use. That will probably take care of the echo. Okay. All right. Thank you, Nature Boy. I appreciate that. There's the Edmund dog singing again. Let's see how he's doing over there. He's still sleeping. Very, very peaceful guy over there. So how do you achieve this purpose? And that was just like maybe 10%, actually a lot less than that, of their focus on all the trust building efforts they've done through 2021 up until they're continuing to do them. And how have they gone about that? I'm going to give you kind of an overview of it. I've played a lot of the clips in the past on the show, but they need the people's trust, at least enough more than people trust others. So people don't have to trust them or believe them all the time. They just need to trust them more than they trust other sources of information. Right now, people do not. And how can they change that is what they're trying to do, because they need that in order to achieve the compliance, as mentioned. Well, what they have attempted to do and are continuing to attempt to do, and sometimes successfully, is mimic the authenticity of those who the people now trust, who the people went to when they stopped trusting the mainstream sources. These are elitists who live in little castles in the sky, who are pretentious and who talk down to people and who lie and propagandize people and do it just blatantly and shamelessly. And they thought they could get away with it forever. And then people just got sick and tired of it during the pandemic. And so the people sought authentic voices, authentic to them, people who identified with them, more relatable to them, who at least seemed they were trying to, in earnest, tell the truth as best they can. Everything the media is not. And so what they're doing at these Davos and all these other efforts around the globe is they're trying to mimic that. They're trying to shed all of the signals of their, highfalutin BS, and they're trying to mimic what has worked in these alternative media fields. And we've seen them do that. We've seen them deploy podcasters, deploy TikTok. So the way it works in, the mainstream, there's a bunch of different angles to this, but you'll see a mainstream media figure get fired or laid off or whatever, downsizing. And then the joke was always, when's his new podcast going to start? And very quickly it does. And what they do is they shed the very nice desk for what looks to be a basement in their house. They shed the suit and tie for a sweater or a more laid back shirt. They shed the completely extreme, ridiculous propaganda for what they are trying to be authentic, but what to me comes off as very disingenuous attempts at being more reasonable. They're trying to be like the people we trust, but they're so weird, they're not very good at it. Some of them are better than others, though. But we saw this with people like some that come to mind, Jim Acosta. He was deployed. See, what they do is they get fired or laid off or downsized. Maybe they get brought back later to the network. But the reason that they need to fire them, there needs to be a kind of a conflict in their departure with the mainstream distrusted source, is so that when they reemerge in the podcast trusted sphere where the trusted people are, is so that they have credibility. So they can say, look, I was fired from my job because I was speaking truth to power. And I got tired of them telling me what to say. And I spoke out about it. And now I got fired. Now here I am, unleashed. So if they aren't fired, if they just start it without having that conflict, then they can't have that reputational, I got canceled from the mainstream thing going on, which is a very crucial part of this. Tucker Carlson, Jim Acosta, Chris Cuomo, Joy Reid, all of these people let go, reemerged in a basement podcast, trying to act like they're one of us. Even though sometimes you would see multiple people bringing coffees into them from the back of their little basement studio, which none of us actually have. It's usually one person, maybe two, when it's like real podcasters. So they're trying to be what they don't really know how to. It's kind of like an alien. Makes me think of, what's that show? Invincible, if you've seen that. There's an alien that can morph into, can look like humans, and it has no idea how to be a human. And so it's like, hi, I'm a human. I'm just like you. I promise. And that's kind of how it acts. That's what they're like when they attempt to mimic the authenticity of people in the alt conspiratorial social media. I hate the word influencer. That's how they describe it, world. And there's a couple ways they can do that. They can redeploy. They can fire or pull out, I would say. They pull them out of their mainstream media assignment. They rebrand them, then they redeploy them to their new assignment in the I'm a trusted, authentic podcaster world. Or if those people are too tainted, which many of them are, they find a figure who's a little bit outside the mainstream, who can be built up a little bit easier because maybe they've kind of, maybe they're mainstream adjacent. Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens type is kind of what I'm thinking about here. Or they can create a new personality altogether. And they can make them rise to the top quickly. It's co-opting where people go by putting people out there who can dominate the views in ways that others can't. Real quick before moving on, I didn't do a lot of time looking up these, and it might echo, I hope not. I got to figure that out. So here is Tucker Carlson. We all remember Tucker. That's Tucker's news persona, you know. We all remember on Fox News what he was. And here is Tucker's rebranded. Just the imagery of it. Look at that. It's very rugged, just like, you know, he's got cords there and just the same. I can just imagine all the tech problems going on behind the scenes there. Very relatable and rugged. Maybe he shaved before, maybe a little bit of stubble now. And here's Jim Acosta. Remember Jim Acosta back when he was on CNN? I think he might have rehired him. They always bring him back. There he is. And you come over here. And so apparently Jim Acosta, when he decided to rebrand himself, he thought the best way to win the people's trust back is to take off the suit and tie and instead start looking like Rosie O'Donnell. That's his new brand. People trust Rosie. Jim apparently became Rosie. Get your ass back on AM. I was on AM Wake Up a few weeks ago. I love AM Wake Up. I love that show. I love those guys. Sweet. No echo. Okay, sweet. Cool. All right. So you get the point. And they always put this stuff. He's like in a corner too. It's funny. He's got George Washington on his wall, and he's got all these. People like to put all these things. It's like, look at the things that make me that the mainstream wouldn't let me do. Look at the clippings of Jim about me and my art. It's just so stupid. Some people actually they green screen like a bookshelf into their podcast. It's like, we know there's a green screen. Every time you move it, it does like a weird thing. Why did you green screen a bookshelf into your... He didn't do that, but there's a lot of them that do that. It's weird. It's that whole idea of them trying to be relatable, but they're not very good at it. So that's part of the effort they're doing, and it's like a two-pronged effort, and it's working. It is working to a certain extent. They identified the problem. Nobody trusts them anymore. They identified who people trust now, which is as I said, alt conspiratorial media, the social media influencer type of media. And they identified what it was that people like, the authenticity, the honest effort. And they said, we need to be all those things. But it's more than just deploying a bunch of operatives who you've rebranded and pushed out into the sphere as though they're acting like they're normal and like, hey, I'm going to be kind of middle of the road now. They have to also recreate what happened to them that caused people to lose trust in them. They have to recreate that in not just the people or the podcasters or whoever that people trust, but in kind of the whole environment, the community. What comes to mind is the CIA declassified document where they were talking about the effort to demonize and destroy the credibility of the term conspiracy, is either conspiracy or conspiracy theorist. And then you have Cass Sustein's document that he wrote while he was working with Obama. He was Obama's propaganda chief. And he wrote about how to how to discredit conspiracy theories. Is not by stopping them, it's by allowing them to come out in a flood, and then you amplify them and you make them crazier and crazier so they all get clumped together. That's actually kind of going on right now. They need to build up their credibility through the rebrand, destroy the credibility of those who have gained it, so that the people, once again, are stuck in a situation with, I don't know who to trust anymore. And then because they presented these personalities who are now all of a sudden being more reasonable from their pretend podcasts in the basement, and go, well, maybe I'll go look at some of these figures again. So it's not that they're necessarily going back to the mainstream, but they are going back to mainstream controlled figures who are propagating narratives. And turning away not just from individual conspiracy influencers, and this is not everybody. This is more people, I would say, who are kind of on the border of the alt media world and normie, people who are like right there on the border of normie and maybe being like, this is all BS. Those people are running away from the conspiracy alt community because of this effort. Because there's not a lot of the same type of critical questioning going on with many things. What the social media, I don't even know what to call it as a group, but it's mostly right-leaning. It's on some issues, but the alt conspiracy media gained trust because of the critical questions of research and evidence that people provided during the COVID times. I mean, myself and many, many others who did great work, they weren't just talking out of their ass. They were providing documentation. They were providing the own words of the public figures, their past actions, the parallels. It wasn't something like A to Z jumping to conclusions. And it certainly was not, if you don't immediately agree with me, you are automatically the enemy. But what has happened now is there's this thing now where people who previously were the best at questioning things and the most open-minded and thoughtful about how they came to their conclusions and their beliefs and communicated well with evidence, like in a court of law. You could take these cases to a court, and the level of admissibility of the evidence would be right in line. I mean, that's a good conspiracy theorist. A good conspiracy theorist questions conspiracies they know nothing about, just as hard as they question the mainstream. Just because something's alternative doesn't mean it automatically gets accepted. It gets scrutinized just as hard because there are red herrings all the time. Like the World Economic Forum is sent out to destroy credibility, to destroy thinking, to destroy people's ability to communicate by memifying everything and causing people who formerly opposed the just take the jab propaganda, the just put your mask on and shut up slave propaganda, by causing those people who opposed that the hardest, effectively, to act like the same people who propagated all of that compliance propaganda. The isms, you disagree with me, you're on the other side. A disagreement with me is solidarity with the enemy. That's what it's become on social media. And that doesn't mean everybody is a compromised, controlled op, but they don't have to be. Because if you have enough that are good at influencing people and are good pathological liars, good con artists, then that can infect people because of the perverse incentives online. The perverse incentives, which cause nuance and actual real conversations to die a boring, nobody ever sees it death on social media. You are incentivized to be the most extreme and to attack those who in the slightest disagree with you. And you're incentivized to immediately have an opinion about everything instantaneously. And you feel pressured to, because if you don't, you're called the enemy of whatever that group is. And then if somebody who you don't like, but maybe others also don't like, happens to state an opinion that you have also, you can't even say that opinion anymore, even if there's truth to it, because the truth of it is tainted because of the tainted mouth that it came out of. That's another way that you can taint truthful things, is you can have people who certain groups completely distrust everything that they say. You can have them say true things because you know that the groups that hate them will disbelieve and push back against anything that person says because it's that person that said it. You want people to go with things, to believe things that maybe aren't true. You get the people that they identify with and find the most authentic in these alternative media spheres to say them. You want people to disbelieve true things. You get the people they hate the most to say them. Because everybody says true things. Everybody does. Everybody says true things. Everybody says false things. It's subverting our attention to who the people are saying them as the determining factor for whether or not it's true or good that has stopped actual analyzing of content from an evidentiary standpoint, the way everybody in this community did it during COVID. People did great work during COVID because they were analyzing the content. Nobody's analyzing content anymore. Everybody is just saying, this person said it, I like them, and they hate. If an enemy of my enemy is my friend, therefore I believe my new friend, whatever. It's like degraded the alternative media community. And it's on purpose. They talk about it at Davos. They literally talk about it at Davos for 5 straight years. I can't say exactly who everybody is that does it, but it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter. What matters is knowing that it's happening and it's effective, and knowing that the way to defend against it is to not fall for the memification. If you disagree with me, you are my enemy. Propaganda bait. Even if there's a bunch of people trying to ride the backs of influence by saying certain things, it's all so tired. A bunch of aspiring con artists. And people want to ride the wave, the bandwagon effect. It is one of the most effective propaganda techniques in history. Because people want to be on, they want to jump on, they feel urgent to, I want to get in on some of the action. It's okay not to have a take immediately. It's okay to think it through and to... It's just crazy to me how completely emotional people get about even the appearance of disagreement, not even actual disagreement, just suspecting disagreement, it is this poisoning of what they will call the non-authorities. And they're already saying this. They're already talking about the damage done by the people who aren't actually journalists and blah, blah, blah. The bullshit that we would expect them to do. And they're going to start doing legislation, and they're going to start branding conspiracy speech as hate speech, and people aren't going to be able to question Israel anymore if we don't stop ushering in our own demise. I know this is not a profitable position to take. The profitable position to take is the extreme one all the time. All the time. Be super extreme, be unreasonable, and just try and troll, just own the enemy. Just try and get just ratio that bastard. I mean, the things that these are grown adults, go, oh yeah, give me a break. Trolling's fun. Do it for the love of the game, man. Don't let it compromise your pursuit of truth. For me, what it's revealed is that a lot of people who claim to be pursuing truth are actually completely full of it. But it's hard to tell people that. It's hard to, what I do is I analyze propaganda. It's hard to say that so-and-so's doing propaganda if a lot of people are like them. And I'm not saying I'm right all the time. I'm not. Definitely not. But I'm pretty good at it. And it gets, I don't want to say demoralizing. I don't really get demoralized. But it makes the whole social media experience, which there are some good things about it, it just makes it so stupid. And then it spills offline. And then you start hearing people just repeating memes and saying, it's like, that's like a copied and pasted thing you got from your social media algorithm. Start doing this. When you see like popular trends or quotes or things going around that people are using to express, as a quote from 1984, to express how certain they are of a truth of the situation that literally just happened. Copy and paste that into Twitter. And look and see how many thousands of people are posting that exact same thing every 20 seconds. There's a lot of bots involved. And these bots, that's part of the equation of the distrust and causing the division that those Davos people trying to rebuild trust love. Put yourself in their position. They love seeing the conspiratorial alternative media implode on itself. They love it. Because that's where all their people went. That's who their people trusted. And it's imploding with the infighting. And I'm not saying you can't fight. Everybody should question it. Question everything. I don't trust anybody, honestly. But even people I don't trust, I do trust to say true things sometimes because everybody does. I trust content, analyze, and corroborate. It's difficult. They want us to be emotionally triggered, and they want us to send people running back to the mainstream who are now podcasters and shit with sweaters on in their basement. Chris Cuomo. It's just so when you see them talking about it too, like that clip. Listen to that clip again. That's a good clip. I won't talk because it'll probably echo if I try to talk through it. Hold on. Maybe I can upload it to this thing here. Maybe that'll work. Let's see here. All right. I'm going to try this little, let's see what Edmund's doing. Edmund Dog, there he is. Toss him a treat. Bang, there he goes. There's a 2-screen. All right. I'm going to try to put this clip in here. Thanks for your patience as I test this machine. Let's see if this works. Well, I don't know how to. Well, I got it in there, but I got no idea how to how to make it play. Wait, maybe this will work. Nope, did not work. All right, I'll have to screw that later. I'm just gonna play it like I always play it. Can you guys hear that? No, you can't hear it because that's not on the screen. What the hell's wrong with me? There you go. Sorry.
Here's Nari Woods, who is the person who created the Global Economic Governance program at the University of Oxford, admitting what we already knew.
The Edelman survey showed us that the good news is the elite across the world trust each other more and more. So we can come together and design and do beautiful things together. The bad news is that in every single country they were polling, the majority of people trusted that elite less. So we can lead, but if people aren't following, we're not going to get to where we want to go.
I hope that you guys could hear that, because I had to turn mine off so that I didn't. Echo. Nevertheless, we will figure it out. It seems to be working, for a first run, it seems to be working decent. Okay, so that's really all I wanted to talk about. I really wanted to test this technology, but I've been thinking about that, and with Davos ending, I thought it would be relevant to reconnect on that trust effort and their acknowledgement that why they're so united, but the people don't trust them anymore. Well, yeah, obviously. Yeah, a connected world, you guys can connect more, but people can also learn. They can connect and they can learn that you're not trustworthy. And that's their primary objective, because you can't do anything without trust. I start with a healthy skepticism, a nice dose of distrusting. You don't have to be mean about distrust. You don't have to be mean about it. People, it's always like, you don't trust something, you don't believe something. It doesn't have to be a conflict. We should normalize not getting butthurt over not immediately agreeing with everything. And I get it. Like, I know it's a big grift. It's the best way to make money on social media. It's the best way to build a big following. I get that. It's a perverse incentive. It's not we don't want there to have to be, and this is what they want to do. They want it to get so out of control that there has to be legislation enacted to stop all of that. And that only has whatever. But we can make it harder on them by normalizing not getting butthurt, normalizing disagreeing and having a conversation that's not angry. The ad hominem attacks are so, they're everywhere. It's reflexive ad hominem attacks all the time on X, probably Facebook, actually Facebook too, because you have the AI. People see these AI photos of things that are obviously AI, but because like I saw one, and I'm not going to get into that whole thing that happened in Minnesota, but I saw this image of those cops and that guy that was killed the other day. And the image that was going around was two of the agents both holding a gun directly to the guy's head, like they were enjoying about to blow. I mean, it was so obviously AI. And when you look at it closer, one of the guys didn't have a head, one of them didn't have a hand. But this was being shared on social media because the people who see them that way, they're not going to quite. That's how they actually see them in their heads because of the propaganda. Like, so they're going to believe that. And if they were to say, hey, this is AI, the people on their side of things would get very angry with them. What do you mean? It's like, even if yes, so what if it's AI? It's what it is. So people have this attitude of, Yes, so what if it's exaggerated to an extreme and it's AI? That's still what it actually really is. I mean, this stuff, it's all crazy. It's so crazy. I'll look at some of the chats and then I'm going to get out of here. Any hurricane buildings? Let's see. Engage your audience. Yeah, are you telling me to engage my audience? I can't see the comments like I can in my home studio, so I have to come to them a little bit afterwards. OMG, what's up, JC? Reverberating around. Yeah, I got to figure that out. Hey, bro, that's crazy talk, okay? Now I'm going to log into your car with my phone so I can run to the store, stop for you. They can do that, right? And they just pass that, which I felt like they probably already were doing, you know? It's like they're just telling us about it now. You know what? We're going to tell you about it. We've been hacking into cars for a long, long time, but now you guys can know about it. The Waymos are everywhere. I can't wait to see one of those Chinese traffic cops that look like sex dolls pulling over a Waymo and there's not even a person involved. Turn on Edmund's. Yeah, let me see what Edmund's doing. Let me show you good. Another Edmund cam. He's sleeping. He's been up here with me all. That's a good boy. Very tired guy. There's some girl dogs up here that he likes. Lawyer, liar, very similar words. Yeah, it's true. Medic warfare, that's 6th generation warfare. Shut up, slave, says Radio Sack. For watching who already agree that is a lot of propaganda, says Lorley. And we all know who gatekeeps the Temple Bar, says Radio Shack. The Amish, that's exactly right. Those Amish. And nobody's looking at the Amish, let's be honest. The Amish can get away with anything right now. I came here to hear about Davos, not how media's lie. Well, Lori, that is what Davos is. That's like the whole theme of Davos is how they lost trust and they need to rebuild it. Like they brought media figures in to talk about that and the trust they lost. That's the theme of it. Media must be constructed. I love that. Yeah, No Agenda does. I love No Agenda. I got a degree in journalism. Why should I watch this channel? I don't know, or you shouldn't watch it. If you have a degree in journalism, great. Okay, good. Go watch it. Go do some reporting. It's a weird question. False dichotomies, that's evidence of disingenuous people, emotional manipulation. I agree. It's almost like they're conditioning people too to react in that way. Because I see it in real life. Now, he's talking to me. Peace out. Thank goodness. I never got that. People who jump on a chat and I don't even know what that person was arguing about. Those Davos types are countered by pitchforking them and raising them on spikes, as Raul Meat heard. Well, yeah, but not exactly saying that. Let's see here. Raise them up on their stakeholders. Slick Lick says, Brad is my friend. You are my friend. We all need to understand that. Yeah, I think so. I agree. I just, it's sad to see people getting worked up by organizers, politicians, people in position who are getting people to go do things. I'm against protesting. I've been very much against it because they tell people to put their bodies on the lines and they tell them to go do things that the organizers never do. And the organizers need the violence. We need people getting pulled out of wheelchairs on the steps of the Capitol this Netroots Nation, Jan Schakowsky, so that we can blast it all over the New York Times. That is the attitude. And when these things happen that are violent, the organizers who are never on the front lines, they get all the fundraising money. They show their political acumen to be able to organize people against their own best interests. They love it. I call it stakeholder capitalism. That's funny. Stakeholder capitalism, says Raw Meat Herd. It will end with the fools having to stakeholder. It's the allegory of the cave. I'm doing a show on that tomorrow with a guest. And it's a modern allegory of the cave. It's just different caves and different shadows on the wall with modern technology. I think memetics is not inherently bad if you're a wise. Yeah, I agree with that. It's with all of it. I think if you can recognize what it is, and like I think a lot of them are funny, but also some people believe them as 100% full contextual truth, and that's they're snippets of the extremes. Eat bugs and surrender your property. Let's see here. Santa Claus, Schwab, no more coal for Brad. Yeah, that's right. For bad climate, not Brad. 3 more shifts till my flight. Where are you flying to? Let's see. All right. Slick Licks. Slick Licks, I think you're having a good time this evening. Gamos, Wamos, Gamos. Yeah, it is kind of gay. Who do you yell at if a Wamos is tailgating you or cut you off in traffic? Are you supposed to flick the people off in the back seat? There's no driver. It would be funny, though, just to scream at the empty front seat. Yes, Plato's cave, ignorance is bliss. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for letting me do that experiment. And I will be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Talk about Plato's cave. You guys have a fantastic rest of y'all's day.